they always said I'm wrong, but what they doing today? I think they want me gone, but I ain't going away. They told me I was wrong, but look at my ass today. Da 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 da.
Guys, what's going on? I'm Tim for The Real Sports Talk, along with Ezra Ice Cream of Idiot Sports Talk. Check him out, youtube.com/Idiot Sports Talk. Also, check him out on Twitter at CJNezra, and then follow me at CashKelly_TRST, KASHKelly_TRST. We did a video about Dwight Howard about 2 weeks ago now, and we're going to be doing a lot of videos together, hopefully like 1 or 2 a week. And we have 2 for you guys. Right now, we're first going to start by giving you our NBA winners of the offseason. Even though it's technically not over, most of the big signings are done, and then we'll go on to the losers of the offseason, which unfortunately I think my team may fit into, but we'll get to that in another video. We'll start with the winners. First off, though, Ezra, what's going on, man?
I'm good, and for the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior reference right there, that's because I used to be a big-time wrestling fan. 1,000th of Raw. Was it last week?
Yeah, it was last month.
Oh, man, so I just got to give a little reference there. That's a big, great achievement in the television world. So a little shout-out to WWF/WWE.
Yeah, no question. I think I used to watch it like 3 or 4 years ago. I think the product's kind of going down from what I've heard and the little I've seen. But, hey, it's geared towards the younger kids anyway, so who knows. We will begin with the NBA winners of the offseason. And Ezra, go ahead. What is your first NBA winner of the 2012 offseason? I think I have a guess, but go ahead.
Yes, you actually saw my NBA winners video, but there's a team that I did not mention, and I should at least give them an honorable mention, and that was the New Orleans Hornets, okay? I didn't mention it in my video, but they really did have a great offseason in the sense of rebuilding for the future. They re-signed Eric Gordon, who I think, if he can stay healthy, can be an all-star for years to come. They got the #1 pick, Anthony Davis, who they say can be a franchise guy. We know he can bring defense, and that's the toughest thing for a young guy to mature in is defense. And Anthony Davis, we already know his shot blocking ability. And in the 10th pick, they get Austin Rivers, who's a gutsy player on the offensive end. If he can develop to at least be a Jason Terry, okay, type of player, that's a big draft pick right there. So they got themselves a point guard for the future, a power forward/center, a shooting guard, and they signed Anthony Anderson. Anthony Anderson. Well,
Ryan Anderson.
Ryan Anderson, thank you. I'm not big on him. He's just I know he had a big year with the Magics. He's a shooter. I think he got overpaid. 4 years, $36 million. But he's still a nice piece, and they're going to have a nice offensive team out there in New Orleans.
The Magics, I like that. But that's one of the teams that I look at, and you're right, they did have a pretty solid offseason. A lot's going to depend on how Eric Gordon matures, what Austin Rivers does turn into. And you're right about the defensive thing with Anthony Davis, because Carmelo Anthony's been in the NBA for almost 10 years now, and he's still trying to mature defensively. So if they can add a guy like him into the mix, he reminds me a lot of Greg Oden coming out, and I don't mean that in a negative way. That's kind of what he reminds me of. We go over to the Nets for me. Your Nets, I'm sure you have them on your list. They get Darren Williams, and they re-sign him basically by convincing him that they have the best chance to land Dwight Howard. They trade for Joe Johnson, which might ultimately keep them from getting Dwight Howard, but it's another piece that helped to keep Darren Williams there. And then you add Chris Humphries back into the mix. You have a pretty solid young core of players, and the possibility of getting Dwight Howard is still out there because that's pretty much his #1 destination. Now, a lot of these winners, it's less about what they did, but it's more about the situation that they put themselves in to potentially go get Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I mentioned that in my video. I think they put themselves in a position to attract themselves for Dwight Howard. And we already know. I think there was a report recently saying, you trade me now to the Lakers or wait till January to trade him to the Nets or let me be a free agent. He gave the Magic those three options. So by being in that conversation, if they were in New Jersey, do you think Dwight Howard would have said that? No.
No, he'd be in LA already if they were in New Jersey.
Okay, so by them going to New York, which is, I guess we can count that as an off-season move, even though that's been planned for 3-4 years. But that's a great move already for that franchise. Just by coming to New York, you made yourself attractive, and adding the best free agent of this offseason and Darren Williams, it's a successful offseason, even though I don't believe my Nets are right now championship caliber. Even though they're potentially the second best team in the East. At best, they could be the second best team in the East, but they're still not championship caliber.
Well, it takes a lot of maturing of guys like Marshawn Brooks. Can Chris Humphries continue to play at a similar level of what he did last year? But yeah, you're right. The way things are right now, I look at them as probably the second best team in the Eastern Conference. And we all know when Dwight Howard holds his decision and decides to take his talents to Philly, then the Sixers will be the best team in the Eastern Conference. My second winner, though, is the Houston Rockets, and it's not necessarily for what they did on the court, but more what they did in terms of marketing. They get Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin's raw, but he's going to bring a lot of excitement to that team. Maybe they can get him to mature. I don't know. I couldn't blame the Knicks for not giving him that money, but it's almost like when you're a big market like that and you're the Knicks, it really didn't make a ton of sense not to, because at the very least, what Jeremy Lin is going to do is he's going to bring in an Asian fan base or bring back in the case of the Rockets. And then also he's going to sell a ton of jerseys for you to the point where he almost pays his whole contract out, at least in the first season. We'll see, or he should make up for the amount of money. I don't know if by the third year if he's still going to be this popular and he'll be worth that 14.8. We'll see what happens. And they also put themselves in a position to maybe get Dwight Howard. I don't know if it'll happen, but if they can land him, it puts them in a position to be more successful in the future, because either they'll somehow convince him to stay or Dwight Howard will be flipped and they'll get better pieces than what they already have.
I don't know. Right now, I would say they're winners. On a business end, like you mentioned, yes, I would say they're winners. They let go 2 point guards who, in my mind, as of right now, are better than Jeremy Lin, and that is Dragic and Kyle Lowry. So I don't know, by letting go two guys that are better than that, what you just signed.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they're doing all their offseason moves to try to get Dwight Howard, and we already know that's not one of his destinations. Even if they get Dwight Howard and he goes at the end of the season, they'll have a ton of cap room, but you gave up 2 point guards, Luis Scola, who's a very savvy veteran in the league. The man averaged like 15 points, 8 rebounds last year. And I don't know, that sounds a lot just to get Dwight Howard, and potentially it's not looking good to get him right now. So I don't know if I got him as winners. It could potentially be a winning offseason if they do get Dwight Howard and he resigns. But that doesn't look good right now. It just doesn't.
I don't think it's out of the question that Dwight Howard gets traded. I really think it's extremely unlikely that he signs there. I don't know. I don't think it's impossible that Dwight Howard could get traded to like a third team that's not the Nets or the Lakers, and he makes a playoff run and ends up liking it there. I don't think that that's impossible, liking it to the point where he stays. But in the end, he has the dollar bills on his mind first, and he wants to go ahead and go to a situation where first it's about marketing. It's not about winning first, but the difference is not only is he going to have a better chance to market in LA and Brooklyn, but he's probably going to have a better chance to win. So I guess that makes sense in the end. Do you have any other winners written down?
I keep mentioning my video. I'm giving myself cheap plugs here on Idiot Sports Talk channel. I put the Atlanta Hawks on my list because they noticed, you know what, we hit the wall. We're not going to win a championship with this team. The way it's constructed is just not going to work. So how do you rebuild? Especially when you're at the max of the contract, you got to get rid of contracts. And we know Joe Johnson has got 4 years, $90 million left, and they found a buyer with the Nets. And that's a great move by the GM. They dumped off all that money to the Nets and Marvin Williams, who's making about another $7 million. So they potentially got $27 million off the cap, off that payroll in this one offseason. And you know Josh Smith, I like him as a player. I don't know if he'll fit with the Hawks going forward, but that's another guy they could trade, and I think you can get some nice talent in return for him. You keep Al Horford. I'll tell you that right now. Even though he's playing out of position, but you keep that man, Al Horford. But I think they did a nice first 2 steps in the rebuilding process. You want to get a superstar in this league? If you're not a big market, you got to suck. You got to lose. You got to draft them. Simple as that. That's the only way you can get a superstar.
You got to get the #1 pick and hope that you get the year that LeBron or Blake Griffin's in, and not the year that Greg Oden's the #1 pick.
Hey, watch it, because that year I'm gonna say it here. I actually rated Greg Oden higher than Kevin Durant that year.
I did not, even though I was about 11 years old at the time. I said to people, Kevin Durant is going to be better than Greg Oden. Everyone laughed, and then 4 or 5 years later, as they moved to Oklahoma City, and Kevin Durant was the borderline MVP. Well, finished in second place for the MVP. Some people, me not included, thought that he should have been the MVP. And then, I mean, Greg Oden, not to necessarily get off track, but Greg Oden, it's not that he's been bad when he's been in there. He's looked pretty
He just hasn't been there. His leg is shot. It's like a sloppy Joe. It's messy. His knees is messed up, man. Okay?
I think Greg Oden, it wouldn't surprise me if he goes somewhere and finds it for 1 year and is able to stay somewhat healthy for one season to the point where...
His knees is as soft as this teddy bear's stomach, okay? Soft. Look at that. Look at that. I can just squeeze it. Greg Oden, his knees are done, okay? And I think he would have been a top 3 center in this league. I think if he would have been healthy, he would have been up there with Dwight Howard and Andrew Bynum because he had great athletic ability. He already came into the league, defensive ready, great rebounder, and you know what he did with Ohio State? That man carried that team.
Yeah, I mean, he was considered, I remember reading an article in Sports Illustrated, he was considered the best high school player in his junior year. So, I mean, he was great throughout college, and got drafted #1 overall by the Blazers. And when the Blazers tend to make #1 overall picks, they don't tend to work out very well. Going back to Atlanta, though, they do also add Lou Williams. I think they overpaid for Lou Williams. But what they get is a shooter, a guy that's willing to shoot in the clutch moments. I wasn't necessarily high on Lou Williams. I like him.
Do you know what? Sorry to stop you. Do you know what kind of contract he got with the Atlanta Hawks?
I think it was 4 years. I forget the exact amount of money per year, though.
Okay, Lou Williams, but we know he's a potential 6-man in this league. So you got to give Lou Williams that. He's not going to be axed. Well, he might become the leading scorer the upcoming season, but when they rebuild and he's there in the future, he's not going to be the guy to carry them offensively like he was asked to do with the 76ers. He'll be a 6-man. So I think that's a good move if he's coming off the bench, and that's how they're going to neutralize him. So... Utilize him, not neutralize him.
Yeah, utilize. Sometimes the problem with Lou Williams is I think he gets like Kobe Bryant syndrome. Sometimes Kobe Bryant late in games, I like Kobe Bryant a lot. You see the Kobe Bryant jersey right behind me. Sometimes late in games, Kobe Bryant will drill a bunch of shots. And then there's other games where he takes some of these ridiculous shots that I just look at and I'm like, come on, man. Lou Williams gets that sometimes. I've seen him hit a big shot. He hit the big shot over Miami, and I think it was Game 4 of the Eastern Conference playoffs last year, the first round. And it went in, they sent it to a Game 5 where they ended up packing. But the point is, Lou Williams can hit some big shots. I think sometimes he thinks he's bigger than he is. Danny Ferry came in there, and you're right, he realized that the Atlanta Hawks are a team that he said they're a second-round playoff team at best. I can't even believe he found someone to get that Joe Johnson deal off his hands. It's a nice pickup for the Nets, but, I mean, the contract is just absolutely... It's pretty bad contract, but it's a nice job by them to clear. Another winner I have is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They just signed Andre Kirilenko yesterday, add him into Kevin Love. They took a flyer on Brandon Roy, and who knows what happens, but I like the possibility of what Brandon Roy could do there. Not to mention, they looked pretty nice first half last year. They're going to get Ricky Rubio back for the start of this season, it sounds like. I don't know if they'll quite be a playoff team, but I think they'll make a push for it.
Winners, once again, I don't know. I like the move of Brandon Roy, which was, hey, David Kahn must be a great salesman. There was about 8 teams interested in Brandon Roy, and he chose the Minnesota Timberwolves out of all teams. Is he going to be the Brandon Roy from the Blazers? No. Can he be a solid guy off the bench or a solid starter? That's what you're looking for, and that'll be a great value for 2 years, $10 million. I like that pickup a lot. AK-47, I mentioned in another video that I don't think Kevin Love is a superstar. AK-47, he's a solid player. He's a good defender, good rebounder. He can score without a point guard. He adds to their defense because the Timberwolves are one of the worst teams defensively. So that was a good pickup also. I would have liked if they would have actually got Nicholas Batum. I think he would have fit perfectly with the Timberwolves, but that didn't happen. The Blazers matched that contract, but they made some nice moves. Winners, I don't know.
I like what they're doing. I think they're building their team the right way, and I think they are setting themselves up in the future, probably not to win a championship, but to at least be a consistent playoff team. We'll see what happens. Then the final winner I have is the Los Angeles Lakers, which is pretty obvious. They get Steve Nash, Antoine Jameson, who, I mean, that pickup is really underrated. He still averaged 19 a game last year, I think. He's like 35, 36. Adding him into there, obviously Kobe's going to have to do less work. You finally have Derek Fisher out of the picture. Ramon Sessions is going to be a really nice backup point guard for that team. And again, another team that has the possibility of getting Dwight Howard. If I was them, I'd do that because Andrew Bynum seems like a dog sometimes. I think he has a lot of potential, but I don't think he has that drive. And Pau Gasol, they're able to keep. I like that move a lot because besides just the impact he has on the court, Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol are good friends. Kobe said the other week, as long as he's playing there, Pau Gasol will be there. And if that's what it takes to keep Kobe happy, then that alone is probably worth it. Mike Brown's still the head coach, so that doesn't thrill you. But I liked what they did in the offseason.
What can you say? Steve Nash, still an all-star, still a guy that has a great influence over the game. He's led the Suns to a 33-33 record with nothing but role players. Simple as that. And now you can easily, I won't say easily, but you can make a great argument. The Lakers have the best starting five in the NBA. Nash, Kobe, Meta, Gasol, Andrew Bynum. That is ridiculous. But the Antoine Jameson move and re-signing Jordan Hill to one of the worst benches in the league is big time. I think that's more important than the Steve Nash move. They may sound stupid, but that's how pathetic that Lakers bench were. Okay, Antoine Jameson is going to finally be a threat off that bench. Jordan Hill, if he matures, if he adds on from what he did last season, now you have some guys that can come off the bench and actually give some rest to Paul Gasol, Kobe, to these guys that are way up there in age, and they need some minutes.
And Steve Blake's still a pretty nice piece now that he's not like the first option off the bench. And don't forget about my boy Josh McRoberts on the Lakers bench.
Yeah, Josh McRoberts, yeah.
He will be the breakout player of this NBA season. He's the next Brian Scalabrine. But
that's disrespectful to the White Mamba. You just disrespected White Mamba with that one.
Hey, he's still a free agent. They could bring him in as well. So that would be the move of the offseason. That would trounce. I don't even know if trounce is real.
I think you got it wrong. I think the NBA is a free agent, okay? I think Scalabrine picks his team, okay? Yeah. They got to hope, okay, that Scalabrine wants to sign back with basketball. Maybe he wants to play baseball. Maybe he wants to become a swimmer. I don't know. Maybe he's at the Olympics right now. Are you sure?
I thought I saw him in the crowd today. He could do probably better than Michael Phelps did yesterday.
Well, most people can right now at this moment. Another team that I was thinking about putting them as winners. I really was. And if you guys who know me, I'm a big-time Knicks hater. I like a lot of the moves they did this year. Ronnie Brewer, Marcus Camby, Kurt Thomas, Raymond Felton. I like those moves a lot. Okay, that's going to help that bench.
And Jason Kidd.
And Jason, I'm not a fan of that move. Jason, that move is overrated to me. Now, you bring a 40-year-old that could barely run the Mavericks offense, and the Mavericks offense don't need a point guard. Sorry, okay, they need a scoring guard over there in Dallas.
It's still a pretty nice pickup.
No. Okay, so no. You don't give Jason Kidd a 2-3 year deal. The man's 40 years old, and when he realized he signed with the Knicks, he started drinking. But Marcus Camby, Ronnie Brewer is adding a lot of defense to that bench, to that rotation, and I like that a lot. But not re-signing Jeremy Lin, negative effect in my eyes, and it made no sense. So that's why I didn't put the Knicks as winners in my video. It's just I just did not like them not re-signing Jeremy Lin. That's just stupid. It was just a stupid move. It's not like he was going to handicap the salary cap because you're already asked out for the years to come.
Yeah. I think they're still improved though, and the thing that I like a lot is that what Mike Woodson did that second half was he made Carmelo Anthony play better defense, and we saw it in the USA game today a little bit, and throughout the rest of the season last year. Carmelo Anthony stepped up on defense. I think him and Amari Stoudemire might finally get on the same page this year, and if they don't, I think they might blow one of those two up and move on from the that combination.
I think Amari is the Achilles heel of the Knicks. So I know everybody's killing Melo, and I know Knicks fans have that great memory of Amari leading them to an 8th seed. Oh, 8th seed, yay! Yeah, get out of here, man. Okay, that man averages like 6 rebounds a game, and he's 6'10". He's a jump shooter now. He doesn't even take it to the post.
Yeah, I know.
Amari Stoudemire is vastly overrated. Vastly overrated. I'm sorry. Give me Louis Scola. Okay?
I don't know if I would go that far.
I'm not saying give me Louis Scola for the same kind of money, but
yeah, for
if I was the Knicks, I'll trade Amari Stoudemire for Louis Scola right now. Straight up right now.
Okay.
Straight up. And if I could go any higher, if I could get Paul Gasol, that would be insane. I would love it. I'll give you a couple draft picks with that.
Paul Gasol is a pretty bad contract, though, too.
Well, watch it. Paul Gasol won 2 championships, went to 3 finals with the Lakers as the second option on that team. When they went away from him last year,
that second championship.
Huh?
He was the first option in Game 7 of that second.
He should have won. He should have won a Finals MVP.
I can't hate on Kobe winning it that year because usually the best player wins the Finals MVP.
I'm sorry. He had a terrible... He shot like 38% for that series.
He was 6 of 24 in Game 7 of that game. But
that whole series, he shot like 39%.
Yeah. I mean, Kobe Bryant's never been the most 50% shooter, but still, I get your point there. Won it. And we're going to give you guys another video in a minute on our losers of the NBA offseason. Remember to check out my website, therealsportstalk.wordpress.com. Check out Ezra at CJ Nezra on Twitter. And also
CJN Ezra. CJN Ezra. Okay?
CJ Nezra.
Nezra. You just gave me like a female's name. Thanks a lot, Tim. And you can check out my channel at Idiot Sports Talk. Idiot Sports Talk on YouTube. You can check it out. And it's a little explicit language. I get dirty with the mouth. I'm sorry. But hello, ladies.
So do I when this camera goes off. So who cares? Follow me at CashKelly_TRST. And we will see you guys in just a minute for our NBA losers of the 20 whatever year this is off season.
Just a little ways around the corner from fear. Be there, next year, where I'm going.